Welcome back in, everybody, to Pro Football Plus. I am Ben Parker. Shane is back with us. Austin is back with us. We got our great panel here tonight. We are loaded, man. We were loaded. I was just telling our guys, we were loaded with football games and stuff, just coming off of an exciting weekend. And then, boom, all heck broke loose this morning, and the trades started happening. So we're going to lead right off here with the trades. We were very fortunate that they broke out today instead of tomorrow, because now we get to talk about them and be some of the first people out with a late day show here. So, guys, thank you for being on board. It's a privilege to have you. As always, let's get right into it. The Jets have made a trade. The Bills have made a trade. I'm not going to lay out any more details than that. But Shane, where do you want to take it, man? First thoughts.
I mean, for me, I think the Bills one is a little bit more interesting. I think we've known that Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers have a love affair with each other, so I wasn't too surprised by that move. Maybe the timing, but not really out there. With the Bills, though, I think they made a good money offer. You get Amari Cooper on a pretty cheap deal. They tried to reset their wide receiver room in the offseason, and it didn't really pan out for him so far. So you got a chance to get Amari Cooper on the cheap. Gives you another target. We'll see what that offense can do now with another wide receiver weapon.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing, Austin, I'll let you dive in here on the Bills trade in a second. But one thing I thought right off the bat here for the Bills, I like the Bills receiving group, but none of them yet has shown the ability to be a number one or elite in any way. So when you add Cooper here to the Bills, it kind of drops everybody else back down to a slot where they can hopefully produce without pressure and be given a chance to grow and develop in this offense. Austin, we'll stick with the Bills here. The Cooper trade, how you feeling about it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm very happy for Amari. He gets out of a really bad situation that we have talked endlessly about on this show. So, yeah, getting out of the Browns into a much more pleasant atmosphere in Buffalo is great for him. I do think it's really good for the offense as well. They get a true number one, which is something they were lacking without Stephon Diggs this year. I don't think Cooper is quite up to Diggs' caliber at this point in their careers, but Amari Cooper is still a very capable outside receiver, something that this team's lacking. I mean, they had like a deep threat in MVS, who I think they had to release for the Cooper signing or trade. And then they've got like Mac Hollins, who's another big outside receiver, but no one who is kind of a full bodied, can do pretty much whatever is asked of them receiver like Amari Cooper. So I think having that sort of weapon is going to be great.
All right, real quick, Austin, it's fine if you don't have a take on this, but it looked, best I could tell, Cooper's going to be a free agent next offseason. His contract is up. Do you figure the Bills are fully intent on signing him, or do you think they're happy with just a rental for now and we'll figure it out later?
I think they would be looking to extend him likely if everything goes well. You know, this is a looks like a very classic trade for and extend situation that we see happen all the time in pro
Yeah.
sports. So I would not be shocked if we see Amari Cooper sign an extension in the next week or so.
Yeah, that was my thinking as well, but I was curious to see how you felt about it. Austin, I'm gonna keep it with you here. I'll let you get first take here on the Jets side of things. Man, we watched these two teams play just last night, and here they are, boom, boom, making some deals. So, how did you feel about the Jets trade?
Yeah, I mean Mike Williams basically cut himself from the roster last night with that play towards the end of the game. Aaron Rodgers, both these teams actually said, "Hey, we need another receiver." After that, I mean, that was one of the weirdest. A bunch of missed penalties, missed kicks, bad plays on both ends, but a good game. You know, it's funny how a bunch of bad stuff ends up to a good game, but that's how it works. Uh, yeah, I think Davante Adams is going to fit right in. This is probably the best 1-2 punch that Aaron Rodgers has ever had in his career. I was thinking back to his earlier days with Jordy Nelson and Greg Jennings. I think there was a season there where those two overlapped really well. And then Randall Cobb and Davante. But I mean, Garrett Wilson is probably the best, I don't know. Is Garrett Wilson the number one there still? He might be. Garrett Wilson's a fantastic
It's
player.
tight right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I genuinely don't know. I mean, Garrett Wilson's a little bit more flexible to be moved around the formation. I think Davante's probably going to stick more on the outside. We'll see Garrett in motion and switching out inside and out between the slot and out wide.
Yeah, so Shane, as I swing it over to you, Garrett Wilson has looked phenomenal last year, this year, every time he gets his hands on the ball, but it's obvious defenses are locking in on Wilson, and because they know that's really the Jets' best and by far sometimes only option in some cases. So you add Adams in now, Shane. I mean, this looks good. Do you actually see it really working and changing things for the rest of the season?
Uh, I think you make an excellent point, Ben, and I think Austin really hit on it that Wilson allows you to do a lot more than what Davante Adams does at this moment. The problem I think is that I don't I don't believe in the Jets. I do think that it will open things up for them. I don't know if just scoring more points takes care of all the ills for the Jets right now. Um, Aaron Rodgers is not what he was before, but he's still, a top tier quarterback. The Jets, I think, just this is going to be kind of a wasted year for them. They had high hopes. I mean, they're still in the thick of it with the way the AFC East is, but I don't know if this one Davante Adams gets the deal because the thing is he was the number one in Vegas. They didn't get a quarterback to be able to really get him the ball, so he wasn't happy. I don't know if going into where Garrett Wilson is going to get you the ball any more than you got before. I think having Aaron Rodgers means you can get some more targets, but I don't know if you get more scores. I don't think you become the number one anymore. I think Austin hit it. I think Garrett Wilson probably, by most people's assumption, is the number one. And without a relationship for Rodgers, I don't think Davante Adams would even be thought as a 1A at that point.
Shane, I'm going to get your opinion here on the Raiders. Obviously, they're kind of the lost thing here. It kind of felt like this had to happen, like it was just going to. I don't know if they even had a whole lot of choice. So they get a conditional third-round pick here. I mean, if you're a Raiders fan, Raiders coach right now, I mean, obviously it's next man up and move on, but doesn't it kind of suck the energy out of the building a little bit here, coming off of Pierce last year?
I think it hurts in two fronts. I mean, the best case scenario with this is that it's going to clear his contract off your books. The worst thing is that I think he's better than Amari Cooper, and you basically got the same exact thing for Davante Adams as you got for Amari Cooper for trading him out. When it comes to draft picks, I mean, if you look at the Raiders offense right now, I don't really know what it is. So, if you weren't going anywhere offensively, Davante Adams has proven for the last couple of years that he is not happy there. He's made it known. And I think if you're Antonio Pierce, you made it known that you're not happy to have him on the team. So I think that some way it does probably clear a cloud out there. But if I'm on the defense, I'm going, we didn't score points before. Now what are we going to do?
Agreed. I really hope, and again, you never know how good a guy's going to be until you give him a chance. I hope they give Antonio Pierce 2 more years after this because there's some building back that's going to have to happen here in spite of the Antonio Pierce energy that I love. For those of you wondering here, the contract for the next 3 seasons, Davante Adams, right now it's $11.6 million on the books, not a huge deal. The next 2 seasons, it's $36.3 million cap hit on the books. But as the dead cap works out, if you want to move off of him, you can. If an injury comes up, if something happens, the dead cap hits are basically nil here for the Jets if they decide after next year to just kind of take it all apart again, which, if Rodgers leaves or if everybody gets fired, that may happen anyway. Austin, before we move off these trades, would you rather be a Browns fan right now or a Cowboys fan, man? I mean, it's depressing on both fronts, both buildings, kind of not just this year, but looking ahead too, man.
Cowboys fans have a quarterback. I'll end it there.
True,
that's where that discussion starts and stops.
Yeah, totally agree and fair point. All right, any more thoughts on the trades here before we rock on? All right, thank y'all very much. These trades bumped our normal lead stories into more lower down places. So we're going to go on to our next lead stories here. Shane, I'll come to you in just a second. I'm going to kick mine in here. The Chicago Bears. over in London. All right, they had themselves a day. Wasn't a fast start. They started off a little slow, a little mucky, even throughout most of the first half. But boy, the energy in the building for the Jaguars, even over in London, their home away from home isn't good. They didn't look good, and as the game progressed, the Bears just flat out pulled away, just kind of out muscled the Jaguars, to be honest. And you know, my little graph here, stock is way up in Chicago, and it's way down in Jacksonville. I mean, it's not looking good, and there's all kinds of memes just waiting to be out there if your Patriots, Shane, were to beat the Jaguars in London this next week. But give me some thoughts on the Bears real quick, and then give me your lead story for the night.
I mean, I think you're right. With the Bears, they have to be happy. I think the story that's really developing is it's starting to get out that the players kind of went to Shane Waldron early after the first couple of losses and said, "You need to coach us. Like, tell us what you want. Let us tell you what we like." And since that happened, the offense has turned around. The ball is getting to weapons. Williams looks like what he talked about being in the beginning of the season. Uh, and the Bears have a chance. You know, for them, the tough part is that their division is difficult. Like, if they were in another division, you'd be talking about them top of the charts. Look at what this offense does. Look at what they do. Unfortunately, Minnesota keeps scoring points. Detroit, Ben Johnson comes up with a new way to score a touchdown every other minute. Offensive lineman, double flea flicker, you know, he's looking like a Penn State offensive coordinator right now, just moving things around and trying to get people the ball. If I'm Chicago fans, just like you said, I think they're ecstatic. If you had told them that this is what the season was going to turn into, especially with it trending up right now, I would be extremely happy with my GM and happy with the coaching staff right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's euphoria in Chicago. Maybe not quite to the degree that it is in Washington, but it's awful close, man. I mean, I'm rooting personally for Chicago, Washington NFC Championship. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's kind of what I'm rooting for. Sorry, Austin. Shane, your lead story for the night, man.
You just hit on it, Ben. My lead story was the Washington Commanders. Look at me, I almost went back with nostalgia there. The offense, I think Jaden Daniels, I think having Kingsbury be your offensive coordinator and what he's pulling together for them, I think Washington is ecstatic with where they are. They're also in a division that seemingly is falling apart by the moment for everyone else. You have Nick Sirianni shaving his head and screaming at fans. The Giants are the Giants, and I think we already hit on the Cowboys. It's a good thing you have a quarterback because you might not have much else. You look in that division, Washington has a real chance. I think with the points that they score and the way that they've been able to slow some other offenses down, they're not a defensive juggernaut. They let away way too much of that defense in the down years to be able to help them. It'd be real interesting to see if some of those guys were still around, what this full team would be like. But just impressed with what they've been able to pull together. And the rookie quarterbacks, the ones that are ready to play, they've really shown their talent level and they've led their teams.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up Washington coming off of a loss because I thought the same thing. Even though they lost to the Ravens, boy, they're still having a good season. And I actually come away with almost as much respect for Washington for that loss to the Ravens on the road as I did some of the wins they've had because they basically went toe to toe here with the Ravens, even though the Ravens kind of controlled that game. Washington looked like they could just kind of hang in there with one of the best in the league right now. So I was very impressed with Washington in spite of the loss. Austin, your lead story.
Well, you said we weren't gonna have our bragging segment this week, and there's nothing more in the world than I love doing than bragging. So, this is gonna be twofold. I was I was leading the charge. I was conducting the train for the the Detroit Lions defensive resurgence this year. I had said they were going to make it a complete turnaround. Everybody knew their defensive front was already good. The secondary is going to, show up and show out this year. And by all means, they have their 5th right now, their PFF grade. If you like those, their coverage is 5th in the league. And overall, they're the first defense. But this comes with the sad news that Aiden Hutchinson broke his leg this week, and they will be without Aiden Hutchinson for the rest of the season. And that's a big hit because Aiden Hutchinson was graded by PFF as the #1 edge rusher in all of football this year. He is he's a specimen of a human being. I guess I didn't realize this until I was doing a little more research. How tall do you think Aiden Hutchinson is? Do you know how tall he is?
6'5", 6'6", is my
Yeah,
guess.
he's
Yeah.
6'7".
Okay.
Yeah, at the combine, he was measured at 6'6" and 5/8". So that's a 6'7" man who's also about 270 pounds. And so no wonder he was already at 7.5 sacks. And yeah, so that's a big blow, but I am still a believer. I still think this Detroit Lions team can get it done defensively. I still believe in the offense. Even though a little bit of struggles early offensively, I haven't wavered from them as my favorite to win the NFC and make it to the Super Bowl. So this is a little bit of praise for Aiden Hutchinson and hopeful that the defense can continue to play well even without him.
Yeah, and listen, I've been at the opposite end of the spectrum. My Aiden Hutchinson takes of the past 3 years haven't been as spectacular, and my expectations for the Lions secondary, at least for the first part of the season, were a whole heck of a lot lower than yours. Maybe the second half of the season, I figured, hey, they put it together. But they're going to need that secondary to really step up with Hutchinson being out. And I tell you, I still got him as my NFC favorite, too. It just bothers me a lot more that if they make it to the Super Bowl, they wouldn't have Hutchinson for whoever comes out of that AFC side. That would be really where I would anticipate the huge kind of a letdown there. All right. I love it. Let's get on to my next lead story here. It actually got bumped to the back pages, and you guys have already mentioned it. It's the Detroit Lions, man. I mean, you talk about rolling and them waiting for this. It got a lot more emotional than I expected, and I maybe should have expected it. But boy, they killed the Cowboys, and they tried every way they could to let them know that they didn't appreciate the way last year's game ended. I mean, you talk about every chance they got. Detroit looked spectacular. And listen, maybe they're not really that good. Maybe Dallas isn't that bad, but still, it shows what they can do, shows their muscle. And I expect them to have a heck of a season. But not just that, the whole NFC North. I think, Shane, you mentioned it as well here, with the Bears kind of being the bottom team in this division at 4-2. Green Bay sitting there at 4-2. Austin's Vikings are at 5-0, man. I mean, this is a heck of a division. And right now, they could get every team in the playoffs, I mean, we'll see if one of them fades. But as of right now, these guys look phenomenal. So hats off to the Lions for a huge win in Dallas. Hats off to the NFC North that just looks spectacular, even better than I expected them to look. All right, Shane, your next lead story, man.
So as Austin said, he liked to go with the brag. I'll go with the eat crow on this one. I did predict correctly that Drake May would get into the game when he did, so I'm happy on that one. I thought he played really well this week. I think Jared Mayo hit on it. We lost the game. He didn't lose the game. I think what it does show, though, is how inept offensively the Patriots have been the last 2 years. I mean, he does not have the weapons. A lot of the plays came from him being able to run and make something out of nothing. I am happy that Jared Mayo said that, though, because I think that the team was already started to get behind Drake May. And I think they'll attack from here. Do I think Jacksonville is going to be the chance? I think you might win in London. So
y'all got a chance there. That Jacksonville defense is really struggling, and the whole team just doesn't feel like. I mean, they're fighting. They're trying, but they don't feel like they're hitting on anything right now in Jacksonville over there in London. So stay tuned to that flight home if the Patriots. Shane, I got to ask you, man, because I'm big on uniforms and I'm big on throwbacks. And I don't hate the Patriots blue and silver uniform, but I've always preferred that red, the Patriot guy on the helmet hiking the football. That's by far my favorite. Do you care which way do you lean on that uniform?
See, I like you said, I do like the 85, but I will tell you that the blue with Drew Bledsoe That was the one I grew up on. Drew Bledsoe
Okay.
was my guy. Bledsoe and Parcells were what led me to the Patriots. So I do like the blue one. I like it though with, like you said, the old Patriot on the helmet. I think that's the choice to make on that. Um, I'm not a big fan of the bright red in that coloration, but I like those as well.
Fair enough. I love the red, man. That red with the guy actually hiking the football, man. That to me, that's one of the like top 3 uniforms ever, man. Just give me more of that. All right, Austin, one more lead story from you, man.
It's going to be Chris Godwin, receiver for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is so incredibly good. He's already passed 500 receiving yards and has 5 touchdowns on the season, which is the most touchdowns he's had in a season since 2021. Uh, a lot of people, I guess, had lowered their expectations because he tore his ACL, got hurt a couple years ago. I think it was towards the end of 2021 when that happened. Eventually came back and played, but didn't look back at his, all pro self necessarily the next couple of years, although he was 1,000-yard receiver in 2022 and 2023. A lot of people, I guess, forgot that. I was hopeful that we would see, Chris Godwin back in his prime. He's only 28 years old this season, so he definitely is getting towards the end of that prime, but is still in it. And he is proving very much so that he can still play and is here for at least a couple more years, I think, as a really good receiver. The Bucks offense is looking really good. I think they put up a 50 burger this week.
Mm-hmm.
Baker resurgence is a lot to do with him being really good, but also having to do with having 2 fantastic receivers on the end with Evans and Godwin.
Yeah, I was actually going to talk about the Buccaneers before the trades happened today, and they were just going to get bumped off on my end of the show here, but I'll mention it real quick. The Buccaneers offense is rolling, and it's pretty consistent except for like one game this year. And I know Baker had 3 interceptions on Sunday, but 2 of them were not his fault because I got to watch that whole game. One was a bad throw, but one was tipped the line. It got intercepted. Another one bounced right off the hands of a receiver and then got intercepted. So he was in complete control of this offense almost the entire day, except for a couple of hiccups there in the second quarter. I mean, he looks really comfortable and they look really good right now. And they got a chance there in this NFC where everything is mixed up. We're going to move on to the struggle bus. If y'all got any more takes that got bumped here, y'all feel free to double down when we get to our final 60, and I'll give you 2 shots at it. But here comes the old struggle bus. I've added the Saints in here, man. That's my struggle for the week. The Saints just suck, man. I mean, they shouldn't. Clint Kubiak actually had a good game plan for helping Spencer Rattler throughout the first half. All kinds of rollouts, all kinds of just kind of simple pass plays to work off of, 2 options, not 5. I mean, they really did a great job, especially in the second quarter. And then they just kind of went away from it. And I don't know what happened. They started letting Spencer Rattler just sit in the pocket. And of course, the Saints offensive line up the middle can't hold up to that because of injuries. I don't know what happened. So good Clint first half, bad Clint second half. I don't really know why they switched off with that. I know Spencer's got to grow up sometime, but it didn't have to be the second half of that game. So right now the Saints are struggling though. 2-4. That's what's really the matter is 2-4. It's not that they're not fighting and not trying. It's not that they don't have some hope still in the season, but at 2-4, and with the Falcons and the Buccaneers just kind of launching off here, time's starting to get away here on the Saints. They need to get it done now. They cannot wait another week to get this thing put together, whether Carr's back there or Spencer Rattler or whoever. I got to vote somebody off the bus. All right, Caleb Williams, get off this thing, man. He had himself another good week. It wasn't as good as the week before, but still, get off this bus. We don't want you back on here again. He's off of there, and Kirk Cousins, of course, is off of this thing too. All right, Shane, who you got in the struggle bus this week?
Well, I mean, for me, my first question is, did Robert Saleh go and get his CDL because he's going to have some free time? He might be able to drive the bus on a permanent basis.
Yes.
For me, it's the Philadelphia Eagles. I think just because you get a victory out of this, I think that team is still completely in disarray. I think when you look around the league, a lot of the other teams we've talked about, like you mentioned the Saints, I mean, there's a lot of injuries that have led to them dropping pretty quickly. If you look at San Francisco, is that injuries plus maybe some rust off of there? But I mean, I'd like to see what McCaffrey would be able to help them with. The Bengals, again, you have no offensive line with to speak of. Their money's been wasted. Philadelphia, I think he might be the next one out. I don't think he impressed anyone with the way he reacted on this one. Normally, you'd think Philadelphia would enjoy having someone scream at them and try to put a little bit more fight in them. And it seemed like it just showed them more reasons why he should be packing. So I put the Philadelphia Eagles and especially Nick Sirianni on the bus.
What do you think, maybe, Shane? A 3-game losing streak here, and that would do it? I mean, Sirianni out the door because, I mean, it already looks like he's on the hot seat and he's not making anybody happy right now.
I think it might even take less than that.
Okay. Yeah.
I think had he not had that kind of end game display and then had the kids in the talk through and kind of had the press not taking his side on anything. And I think a lot of the issues that they have seen are, I mean, it's tough for him. Both an offensive and defensive coordinator from a Super Bowl team were both hired as head coaches. They have both done well with the teams that they have. Philadelphia has done a terrible job of replacing those coordinators. So does that fall solely on your head coach? Are you the one that only makes that decision? It's hard because Philadelphia's draft and GM has done an amazing job for them for so many years. You know, how much pressure is put on him to make those decisions? I think he doesn't make it to 3 more losses. I think if he has 2 and something else catastrophic happens, if Jalen Hurts just kind of looks confused offensively, if the defense doesn't get anything going, I think he's going to be out the next one.
Yeah, and listen, I mentioned this before because I'm with you there. People talk about, and rightfully so, had they beaten the Chiefs, maybe we view the Eagles differently, and maybe we do. But also on the flip side, had they lost to the Saints, Sirianni might already be on his way out the door because they were looking awful at about 2.5 quarters through that Saints game with some really, questionable decisions, to say the least. Yeah, so Sirianni's right there, maybe next one out. Austin, struggle bus.
I'm wondering, looking at the bus, did Bob Saleh get fired as the driver of the bus too, or is he still?
No, he's going to drive the bus all year until somebody worse. Maybe Sirianni drives the bus.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's hit a point, like he can't get any worse because he's been fired. So
right.
Maybe someone new will have to get fired. I was wondering, how have we really not talked about the Titans at all on this segment this year? They are an absolutely abysmal team. And there's really no 2 ways around it. Will Levis has thrown more interceptions than touchdowns this season. The only bright spot on their offense is Tony Pollard, who looks a lot better this year in Tennessee than he did in Dallas last year. But the whole offense is basically completely stagnant. They have no talent at receiver, 2 decent running backs. Their quarterback is abysmal. Their offensive line's not very good. And then you go over to the defensive side, and it just does not get much better. They are, in my opinion, the worst team in the NFL right now. If I was an NFL team and could pick my opponent next week, I would pick the Tennessee Titans. I would rather play the Titans than the Panthers or the Patriots or the Raiders. I would, if I had my choice, I would take the Titans.
Even the Dolphins?
The Dolphins are pretty bad too. Dolphins are close second right, without, but that's, with a major injury to their quarterback.
Right.
Will Levis was the presumed starter going into the season for the Titans, and they're still this bad. So,
no, great point. They deserve to be on here, and they probably will very quickly. You just put them on, so they'll be on here next week. And by the way, for those of you who would be like, hey, if anybody's thinking, hey, you're rubbing it in on Saleh, I'm not. This is my way of not forgetting Saleh. So he'll be here with us all season, even though he's not actually on an NFL sideline. All right, that's the struggle bus this week. Let's move on. Time for our matchup of the week. And here's the scoreboard. Shane is up to 122 goats worth with our new currency. Austin sitting at 60, sacrificing his championship for the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm at 150 goats worth right now. anybody's wondering what this is right here, these are goat's cheese, all right? Goat cheese. So those of you who have had it, those of you who have not, they're worth 1 point each, and then the goats are worth basically 10. So that's our new economy there that we're working with. Chargers and Cardinals. This is not the best game of the week. It's just not. There's several matchups that are better, but I liked the style of these two teams right here. This is what I really like. So I'm going to work my way really quickly through the statistics here. Y'all hang with me, and then we'll get into the game here and the picks and whatever bets y'all want to lay down here. Points per game for both teams right now. The Chargers not scoring a lot. They're 26th in the league. Cardinals are 17th. You get down to yards per game. Again, Chargers not producing much. They're 28th. Cardinals are 15th, kind of middle of the league. Get down to, say, the passing yards. Neither team really lighting it up passing-wise. Chargers at 29th in the league, which is pretty bad. Not even really seem to try to throw the football too much right now. And you see that with rushing yards per game. Chargers up to 10th, but the Cardinals are at 7th rushing yards per game as well. So both teams really running the football quite a bit, but the Cardinals' offense is a lot better right now than the Chargers. Then you get over to the defense. Right now, points per game allowed. Chargers number 1 in the league. Yards per game allowed, they're 6th. Passing yards per game, they're 8th. Rushing yards per game, they're 6th. So needless to say, and part of this may be kind of the slowdown style that Harbaugh is playing, but also they're just playing pretty solid on defense too. So if you took some of the DVOAs, they might launch on down into 8th or something, but they have a good defense right now, and that's what's really keeping them buoyed. The Cardinals don't have a good defense. They're pretty much 22nd, 27th, 28th, 29th. They're not the worst in the league, but they're really struggling on defense right now. So this is what I was looking at style-wise. Cardinals coming in with a pretty decent offense, and especially the ability to be explosive against this Chargers team that's playing slow ball with a pretty solid defense coming in. So, Shane, let's start with you. What's your feeling on the game, and then what are you betting on this week?
I've been pretty solid behind the Chargers and Harbaugh since the beginning of the year. I think you hit on some key points, Ben. Like when you see, is the offense producing a ton of points, a ton of yards? No, but the offense is doing exactly what Harbaugh wants it to do. It's eating up the clock. It's not making the terrible play. It's letting the defense win games. I think the Cardinals offensively have the ability to score points much quicker. I actually like their rushing attack with their style a lot more. I think Connor has looked excellent for them this year. But the Chargers are going to eliminate more mistakes. I see Kyler Murray still has an ability to make some of those big-time mistakes. And so I would pick the Chargers. I think it will be a close one because they're going to slow it down, but I definitely think the Chargers win this game.
All right, Austin. Sorry, Shane. What are you betting on this week? If you're betting on anything, you don't actually have to. You can sit on a second place.
We're gonna go 20 goats.
All right, 20 goats on the Chargers to just win straight up. Shane getting aggressive this week. All right, Austin, what's your feeling on the game, and what are you betting on?
Yeah, I was hoping Shane would take the Cardinals because I need to make points back, but he kind of has the same as I do. Chargers are gonna take care of the ball. They are, I believe, 8th in time of possession per game, and the Cardinals are 28th. So that pretty much there shows you what they're gonna try and do to win the game is just get the ball and keep the ball away from Kyler Murray for as long as possible, and then once the ball gets back into Kyler Murray's hands, stop him, get the ball back, and just down. It's going to be a low scoring game as well, I think. So in order to get my goats, I might have to bet the under here. I think it's a different bet than the one that Shane made. And the over under I'm seeing right now is for 44.5 points. So I'll take the under of 44.5 and I'll do 15 on that.
15 goats on that. I'm going to drop 15 goats and 2 cheeses on Kyler Murray to outpass yardage-wise, to outpass Herbert in this game. And I think that just fits with the styles that we're seeing both teams play here. So even if the Cardinals are behind late, I think Kyler Murray will be throwing the football again. the idea is, and I like the Chargers to win this game, but I do feel like this is a tight game. This does not feel like a runaway, and the Chargers haven't exactly been blowing people out when they win anyway. It's kind of been cut and grind here. So can the Cardinals light it up on offense? That's what I am curious about. Shane, you mentioned that they can score a lot quickly. So, do we see Harbaugh is going to lose his mind if he sees Kyler Murray throwing the sign up as he jets off for another 50-yard touchdown. He's going to be doing his best not to let that happen. But Cardinals have that capability. So that, to me, is the key here. Can the Cardinals work up enough big plays to actually get a lead and maybe force the Chargers out of their comfort zone of, hey, grind, which Harbaugh is perfectly happy to do here this year. So I'll put 15 goats and 2 cheeses on Kyler Murray to outpass yardage-wise Herbert. So that's our matchup of the week. We'll do a little bit more of that each week on that. Let's do our final 60. And again, if there was something that got bumped off of y'all's lead stories, feel free to double dip, and hit two things at once. Shane, you're up.
For my final 60, I'm going to keep hitting it. Army and Navy, both in the top 25. If you didn't get a chance to see Army's quarterback Bryson Daly with one of the absolutely greatest stiff arms, he basically took a mid-court dribble with the defender's head on this one. I know it's been flashed across the internet, but just really happy to see. I've talked about already before. I have a soft spot for that flexbone offense. Enjoyed watching how they play, and I mean, both those teams are good teams. In years past, maybe it's been a great fight for the two of them, but not great against other teams. I think that they're both new to the AAC. I think they have a chance to be playing a game, the greatest game for them, and also for a chance at the championship the week after. So continue to fight on. Unfortunately for Air Force, they're having a rough year.
Yeah, somebody's got to be odd man out, right? And no offense to Air Force, but when Army and Navy is going to be spotlighted if both teams are good. We haven't seen them be this good together in the same year since, I guess, the 1940s, right, Shane? Late 1940s. Yeah.
Well, and
if
you ask both Army or Navy, they'll tell you that Air Force Academy doesn't count anyway. So
right,
I mean,
exactly.
They'll stand behind that. They're not sad to see that go. That's the weak sister in their mind. So
right. All right, Austin, what you got, man?
I'm going to give my final 60 first to the month of October, which is my favorite month of the year. The weather is starting to get cool. I put a jacket on this morning when I walked out the door, which is always refreshing. It's beautiful in the afternoons to go play around a golf in the evening, and we are in prime time for sports as well. We've got the MLB wild card, or the MLB championship series, which is the semifinals, the round before the World Series is on. If you want a little more info about that, go to the Box Score _ Network YouTube channel, where we just posted some previews for that. So if you want to watch what me and my friends think about the ALCS and the NLCS, go there, and then we'll do the same thing for the World Series when that comes out. But enough plugging that. October's great. Great weather, baseball playoffs. We're in the middle of the football season, and NBA tips off as well if you're a basketball fan. So this is it's awesome. It's my favorite time of the year is the month of October. So shout out the 10th month.
Mine as well. I mean, it doesn't get any better than October. You have the football, the weather.
Yeah.
It was freaking 85 degrees last week down here, I mean, I couldn't wait for some sweater weather, so here we are. The leaves changing. It's absolutely perfect. Check out Tricky Takes also over on Apple and Spotify. They do an excellent job with a lot of different things. My favorite thing that they do is one that I haven't heard anybody else do. That's the Tricky 50. So it's a game that they play, a little complex, but for those of you who like complex things, I'm sure Austin looks at it as being really, really simple, and he would like to make it a little bit deeper. But for the rest of us, it's a complex game that is actually kind of fun. And then check out our other podcasts, too, that we're associated with. Two Peas on a Pod, two brothers there talking a lot of football, a lot of other stuff, too. Simon and Friends, Odds on Favorite. And then because CONCACAF and DeLoman, of course, surprised us with a guest appearance a couple of weeks ago, they talk a ton of soccer over there. I'll come back to you guys with your final thoughts here in just a second. This is a poll that we did over on the Box Score Network. I don't know. There was like a dozen of us over there. Not everybody voted, but we had enough votes to kind of put together a poll. This was best play callers / offensive coordinators in the NFL here, leaning toward play callers, but also we've kind of grafting offensive coordinators into this as well. The winner by quite a bit really was Sean McVay. Sean McVay pulled off the most votes out of everybody voting. Ben Johnson comes in second. I think no surprise. Kyle Shanahan finished in third. Mike McDaniel comes in kind of a clear fourth, and then Matt LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell both came in tight after that, and then Andy Reid got some honorable mention there as well. Again, focus on that was mostly on the play caller side of things, but some guys were kind of pulling in some of the offensive coordinators. So I wanted to share that off the Box Score Network, kind of who we thought, Sean McVay being kind of the winner on that. All right, guys, anything else y'all want to share with us? Shane, any last thoughts? What's the temperature up there? Way to the north?
Well, I mean, you just mentioned 85. We just had our first snow yesterday, so good couple inches where I am. So,
all right, great.
Austin would have needed more than a jacket yesterday. I'll say that.
Yeah, I'm still not used. I'm not ready for snow. I like it a nice brisk, 70 degrees. That's nice chilly. Put a jacket on weather for me.
I agree. See, I like the shorts weather, but you can go with a sweatshirt or a jacket.
Exactly.
That's like my mode. Normally when I don't have to wear dress shoes like I do every day at work, I'm a sandal guy. On Monday when I walked outside early, there was still enough snow to where I was like, okay, we're gonna put on the old sneakers today.
You're just gonna force me to do it, Snow.
Yeah, thank you, Mother Nature.
All right. One last thought for me. Shane, you mentioned the college scene. Pittsburgh Panthers as well, wearing the throwbacks, which I love, yellow and blue. But also, I think they're 6-0, 5-0. They're having a heck of a season too. Playing Syracuse, I think, this weekend, and a good kind of an old Big East style matchup. So go check that out. I can't remember if that's Friday night or on Saturday, but lots of good college football being played out there as well. Austin, anything else before we're done, man?
No, that's it.
Everybody, thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the NFL. Have a great one. Goodbye.